Hello and welcome to more history stuff. This is the third video about Sir Adam Gurdon, the Outlaw Knight of Hampshire, and at the end of the last video we left him having raised an army of peasants in Dorset and having seized the royal castle of Dunster and turned it into his headquarters. Dunster was in the possession of Eleanor of Provence, the Queen of England at this time, wife of Henry III, but Adam and his followers had swooped down upon it, grabbed it, and are now using it as their their bandit castle, outlaw stronghold, whatever you want to call it. So let's move things on. We're into 1263 to 1264, time of outright civil war in England. Battles are being fought at places like Northampton and Lewes, and there is serious disruption and conflict all up and down the kingdom, really. So the conditions in Dorset at this time can be taken as a glimpse or a snapshot of what's happening in the localities all over England. And it's quite interesting because Adam is not alone. He is far from the only supporter of Simon de Montfort to take up arms against the royalist presence in Dorset. And other men seize castles. I've got some notes on my screen here which I'll read out from. So people like Sir Robert de Verdun, who never actually received official recognition from Simon de Montfort, but he seized Corfe Castle, this big royal castle, and he used it as a base to terrorise the locals with his men who are described as a garrison of strangers. And they ride out and ravage places like Purbeck and take their stolen treasure back to Corfe. So there's a lot of violence, a lot of fighting and plundering and ravaging going on, and Dorset is split into factions. The conditions are quite similar to if you think about the British and Irish civil wars in the mid-17th century, when lots of counties of England ended up divided between royalists and parliamentarians. This is a very similar environment. You've got royalist supporters in Dorset who have seized their own castles and are stockpiling weapons and raising men to fight. And then you've got the rebels, the Montfortians. And it's a roughly even split. And Adam, so far as we can tell from the record, is actually one of the most aggressive of the rebels in Dorset. He doesn't just sit in his castle in Dunster, he frequently rides out to take the war to the royalists and attacks them quite frequently and quite effectively, so far as we can tell. Quite a lot of detail survives of the actions and the things he gets up to. So I'll read out a few examples. These are taken from chronicles and legal records, a whole mixture of surviving accounts. So from Dunster, from his base at Dunster, Adam launches these quite daring raids far and wide, all over Somerset and the West Country. For instance, he broke into the manor of a royalist knight, Sir Ralph de Bakepuz, at Cheddar, battered down the doors and smashed the windows and stole £100, a lot of money, to swell his war chest. He also, with a great company of local followers, these are the peasants who follow him around, he raids the manors of another wealthy royalist, Thomas de Ordham, at Chisleborough and Norton, near Crewkerne, cuts down his woods and takes goods and property to the value of 200 marks, probably about £90, again a lot of money. He also captured and ransomed the Somerset knight Sir Philip de Cantilupe. And it'd be nice to know a bit more about that. How did he capture Sir Philip? Did he just ambush him on the highway or defeat him in single combat? What happened there? We don't know, unfortunately. All we know is that Philip was captured by Adam and his merry men and had to pay a ransom in order to be released. And one of Adam's most picturesque exploits, my particular favourite, is when a chap called William of Offington went to the local court and complained that Adam had come to his house and tried to persuade him to join his band. William wasn't interested, he said no, So Adam breakfasted there against his will before getting on his horse and vanishing into the forest. So Adam has gone to this chap, William of Offington's house, said, hey, do you want to join my gang? Could be a good thing. We could get a good thing going. William is, or so he claims, he's not interested. He says, no, I don't want to have anything to do with that. That sort of criminal malarkey, it's not my sort of thing at all. So Adam goes, oh, okay, fine. But before I go, you're going to serve me breakfast, which he does, and then he rides off. And I think that's quite a good one, quite a good anecdote. I think there's almost sort of a touch of folklore to that story. Again, a bit of the sort of Robin Hood feel about it. So Adam is doing this for about a year, 18 months. He's targeting royalists in Dorset and Somerset. He's raiding their manors, taking a lot of money, cutting down their woods. He doesn't seem to actually harm anyone very much. He doesn't kill anybody that has been recorded anyway. He doesn't kill any of these royalist knights. He's not a sort of murderous outlaw, which most of them were in this period. There's a very sort of violent and bloody era. But Adam's not really like that. He takes all their goods and their money. If they've got anything worth stealing, he'll have that. And he'll take it to sort of to bolster his cause, to help the rebel cause. But he doesn't seem to be a particularly homicidal individual. So again, that's, you know, you could say that's something in his favour as a character, as a personality. He's not a murderous sort of chap at all. And this goes on into 1265, into the summer of 1265, when things start falling apart for the rebels in England. By this point, Simon de Montfort's regime is collapsing about his ears. Certainly by June, many of the barons have fallen away from him. Edward, the Lord Edward, Henry III's son, has escaped from custody, and he's raising an army in the marches, and men are flocking to his banner. Some barons from Ireland are coming over to join Edward. Two of his allies who fled into exile in France, William de Valence and John de Warenne, they land in Pembrokeshire and march all the way through Wales to join Edward on the borderlands. And Simon is, things are starting to look bleak for him. His support is falling away. And you'd think that at this point in his hour of need, he would summon somebody like Adam Gurdon, who's proved very loyal, very effective, and ask him to come and help join his army so he can confront Edward. But he doesn't. He leaves Adam in place in Dorset. He promotes him a little bit, which he hasn't done to this point. On the 28th of June, or rather, sorry, the 16th of June, he makes Adam keeper of Lundy Island, which is just off the coast of Dorset. And then on the 28th of June, Simon orders Adam to repel rebels in the name of the king, which is a reminder of this quite strange situation that the king, Henry III, is Simon's prisoner. And the only thing that gives any legitimacy to Simon's regime is that he's got Henry captive, and he forces him to approve all of the orders and instructions that Simon sends out. So technically Edward and his supporters are all rebels because they're fighting against the king, Edward's father. In reality, of course, they're fighting against Simon. But Simon tries to validate everything by getting Henry to put his seal to every sort of document that issues from the government. But as I said, Adam is left in Dorset. His job is to defend the coasts there, which suggests that the royalists aren't just looking to attack Simon in the borderlands, in the marches. They want to try and get across the sea from Wales and attack the position of the rebels in the West Country as well, which is exactly what they do. And this is actually Adam's moment of glory, the one he's been waiting for over 2 years now. He's finally got a chance to shine and really prove his worth to Simon de Montfort. On the 1st of August, reading from my notes again, a band of Welsh pirates led by a royalist knight, Sir William de Berkeley, landed at Minehead, which is on the north coast of Dorset. And Adam is informed about this, and he charges out at the head of his band of local gentry and angry peasants, and he actually attacks this band of pirates in a full-scale battle on the beach. And I'll read out the chronicle description of what happens next. In that year, on the Sunday before the Battle of Evesham, a multitude of Welshmen, having as their captain William de Berkeley, a knight of noble birth but of infamous character, landed at Minehead, near the castle of Dunster, in order to ravage the county of Somerset. The warden of the castle, Adam Gurdon by name, came out to meet them, slew many of them with the sword, and putting many others to flight, among whom was the captain, caused them to be drowned. So Adam's actually won quite an impressive victory here. Him and his men charge out from Dunster, attack these pirates probably soon after they land. The Welshmen, I'm assuming, are mercenaries whom the royalists have raised in southeast Wales, probably. Maybe Glamorgan, which is the closest crossing point over to Minehead and the north coast of England. Their captain is this interesting fellow William Berkeley, who is apparently of infamous character, suggesting he's quite a notorious villainous sort of chap. And Adam engages them at Minehead, near Dunster, and he puts them to flight. He slaughters them, chases them into the sea, and drowns the survivors, including William. So this is quite a triumph for Adam. He's proved his worth, but unfortunately it doesn't count for very much, because just 3 days later, Simon de Montfort and pretty much his entire army, certainly his chief supporters, anyone of any importance, are wiped out at Evesham. And this is this Battle of Evesham I've spoken about before. Complete massacre, total disaster for the rebel cause. They're obliterated, really. And shortly afterwards, Roger Mortimer, who was Adam's old comrade from the Welsh Wars and now a committed royalist, he comes into the southwest at the head of an army to recapture the town of Bristol and crush the rebels in Somerset. So the rebel position very shortly after Evesham, all over England, and particularly in the southwest where Adam is based, it crumbles away into nothing. It disintegrates, and this is because of the disaster at Evesham, which totally changes the whole course of the war and the whole strategic situation and everything. And Adam, quite sensibly, doesn't allow himself to be trapped at Dunster. There's no point trying to defend the castle against a royalist army led by Roger Mortimer, because nobody is going to come and help Adam. His any of his sort of friends and allies are either dead, killed at Evesham, or they're on the run. The situation has just fallen apart completely. So what he does is he abandons the castle and takes to the forest with his men, or however many of his men still want to follow him. And this opens a new phase of his career, in which he's not so much an important Montfortian supporter and a knight who's controlling a part of the country on behalf of the rebel government, because that government has now collapsed. It's been wiped out. Simon and most of his supporters are dead. So Adam is now reduced to the status of a bandit, really. He's an outlaw roaming about the forests. So what happens next? Well, again, we're on to just over the 14-minute mark. I've described this part of his career, and so the next part of the tale, or the ballad of Adam Gurdon, if you like, will be in the next video. Hopefully I'll talk to you later.